being, a leader of this team, it pretty much, start with me. So, however, I attack, any situation, I know, my guys will follow. So, I just got to be better, in that area. On both sides, off the court, making better decisions, on the court, being locked in, even more.
I've recorded this introduction like 4 different times, mainly because I'm actually speechless that I'm making a video on this topic again. My initial reaction was there's no way that this happened once again. There is no freaking way this happened again. But no, it did. It actually did. And it's I am flabbergasted. Before we get to the content, this video is probably gonna get demonetized because once again, Ja Morant flashed the fucking gun on Instagram. So make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. And show my editor some love because he actually showed up to work on Mother's Day because of this news. Happy Mother's Day. Now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro. This is the closest we're ever going to get to being given free money. Joel Embiid just needs to score 1 point in Game 7. So here are my picks. I'm going to have Joel Embiid getting 1 point at minimum. And then I have Jaylen Brown with a combined 9.5 rebounds and assists. I'm putting in 25 to hopefully make 75. And I'll keep you guys posted on my Instagram story. And make sure you use my promo code microphone so they can match your initial deposit up to $100. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? The Memphis Grizzlies season ended over a week ago, and during exit interviews, it seemed like Ja Morant understood what needed to be done for the Memphis Grizzlies to eventually win a championship, because in my mind, I thought this was a championship team. I thought that they were more than capable of defeating the Los Angeles Lakers, and I've said that multiple times. I thought this team had more than enough talent to win a championship, but the problem was that they got in their own way, primarily over this past season. And one of the strangest things I think I've ever seen in my entire career, the number 2 overall pick in the 2019 NBA draft, who by the way is crushing the number 1 overall pick in that draft in terms of his career so far, Ja Morant, made a series of very strange decisions, and we've covered it extensively on this channel. I mean, over the past 5 months, Ja Morant was accused of allegedly beating up a 17-year-old kid.
He went back, so I'm like this, I tried to swing, no. Then his friend come over there, hit me, fell on the ground, and they just started jumping me.
Like while you were laying on the ground, they were still hitting you?
Yeah, they were still hitting me.
Okay.
Like the next 20 seconds, they're still.
And you just get up and leave?
Yeah, I was. Everybody was holding me back.
He's got a big old goose egg on the back of his head.
Trying to intimidate a mall security cop, having one of his friends allegedly point a red laser at a security guard, which indicated that he was pointing a gun at that security guard. And then, most famously, the icing on this entire cake, right when you can't really defend him anymore, because in our very first video, if you go all the way back to January, when the first video came out about him allegedly beating up the 17-year-old kid came out, I actually took Ja Morant's side because I thought he was a model citizen. Right when it can't get any worse, well, of course, Ja Morant decided to flash a gun at a Colorado strip club. And that was the icing on the cake at that point. I mean, up until that point, you could make a legitimate argument that, hey, maybe the 17-year-old kid that is alleging that Ja Morant beat him up is just looking for a bag. Hey, maybe these are all isolated incidents that are all piling up just so these individuals are looking for a bag. But once Ja Morant decided to flash a weapon on social media at that strip club, that's when there was actual video evidence that Ja Morant was behaving erratically on social media. It damaged his image significantly. He had a very clean image up until that point. He was very kid-friendly up until that point. I mean, Powerade brought back their ad campaign because of Ja Morant, for crying out loud. And as a result, Ja Morant was suspended for 8 games during the worst part of the season, by the way. The playoffs were about to start and it clearly affected him as the NBA investigated whether or not that gun was real. Ultimately, the Colorado strip club came out and said that Ja Morant was very respectful. They found out that the gun was fake, which I don't necessarily know who the hell is traveling with fake weapons, but whatever. They claimed that it was fake. And I don't know if this was a situation where Ja Morant did something way, way worse and his PR team was able to bury it, or if it is what it is. But for the sake of the video, I don't want to get into the land where we're conspiracy theorists here. I would just like to float it out there, and then you can formulate your own conclusion. At the end of the day, the narrative was changed to Ja Morant was sober, acting like an idiot, flashing a weapon at a strip club, and after 8 games and talking to his teammates and vowing to be more focused, in addition to attending counseling in one of the quickest therapy sessions that I believe I've ever seen in my career, Ja Morant was allowed back on the Memphis Grizzlies. I really want you to take a moment to appreciate the absurdity of that situation. What the Grizzlies and Ja Morant's team are claiming is allegedly, and everything in this video is an allegation by the way, is that Ja Morant was at that Memphis strip club completely sober, not under the influence of alcohol, flashing a fake weapon on Instagram Live. The fact that he was doing that while being sober is mind-boggling to me, but that's what the story is and that's what they're claiming. Regardless, we all moved on. Everyone moved on, and it seemed like Ja Morant understood the error in his ways, and it seemed like given everything that happened, there's no way he'd do something that stupid again, right? I mean, come on. This practically costed them the season. The team chemistry was off during the playoffs. He had this beautiful post-game press conference where he clearly understood that he needs to make better choices and better decisions.
On both sides, off the court, making better decisions, on the court, being locked in, even more.
And then I woke up this morning, relatively late by the way, because I thought that there was no freaking way we'd get something like this. I thought the only thing I had to cover today was the result of the Celtics and Sixers game. No, today we woke up and we got a way, way, way more bizarre piece of news for you guys. Because ladies and gentlemen, I'm not kidding, Ja Morant did it again. On Saturday, Ja Morant went on Instagram Live once again. And on Instagram Live, this video was posted. Now, to his credit, it wasn't on his account, it was on his friend D-Tap's account. I shouldn't laugh at this, but it's so freaking bizarre. In this video, once again, Ja Morant is dancing. Now, I don't know why he does this, but we've shown you this clip multiple times in the past, how Ja Morant, every single time he dances, he needs to bring out a gun, whether it's like a fake gun with his hands and like shooting it at his teammates and pointing it, or if it's a real gun at a strip club, or if it's a real gun in his friend's Instagram Live that's only getting 100 views. Once again, Ja Morant pulls out a freaking gun and decides to flex it on Instagram. Why? Why would you do this? I don't understand why you would do this. Look, I've made many excuses for him. If you're a young man, that's one thing. You made a silly mistake. You grew up in the suburbs of Memphis and it's really tough out there. I understand. You listen to a lot of Young Boy and he really inspires you to be more of a gangsta. I get it, I think. You make over $200 million. You recently were ruled to be ineligible for the Supermax. One would think that this would inspire him, right? No. Once again, he made an even dumber mistake, and he's getting punished for it severely. And I guess missing out on a Supermax contract extension wasn't enough for him because, well, Ja Morant's career now appears to be in jeopardy. According to Shams Charania, Ja Morant has been suspended from all Grizzlies activities after the Memphis star was seen flashing an apparent gun in a recent social media video. Yeah, I am as shocked as you are. Grizzlies suspended Morant from all team activities pending NBA review. NBA spokesperson Mike Bass says, "We are aware of the social media post involving Ja Morant and are in the process of gathering more information." The Memphis Grizzlies also have a statement on this saying that we are aware of the social media video involving Ja Morant and he is suspended from all team activities pending league review. We have no further comment at this time. Here's the thing, every single time this situation comes up, I think of the Gilbert Arenas Javaris Crittenton situation that occurred in the late 2000s. And a lot of people might not remember this because this was 14 years ago, but this effectively ended Gilbert Arenas' career. No one remembers this, but Gilbert Arenas was straight up the face of the Washington Wizards franchise prior to this incident, and he had a lot of more basketball to play at the time. I mean, the man was 27 years old. Now, I guess you could make an argument that maybe Arenas' injuries caught up to him at that point, but by then, the Washington Wizards were ready to move on from him after this incident, and I don't know what we could expect the Memphis Grizzlies to do here. Because on one hand, you can make a very reasonable argument that Ja Morant is without a doubt a top 5 player in the NBA, or at the very minimum, a top 5 player in the NBA that you would want to build around if you really want to get into specifics about it. He had one of his best seasons of his career this past year, averaging 26 points per game, 6 rebounds, and 8 assists per game, and a steal per game. And he clearly is good enough to build a championship team around him. And he hasn't even entered his prime yet, by the way. He's still just 23 years old. He was just drafted 4 years ago, so the best basketball of his career is still ahead of him. At the same time, how much could you trust a guy that is quite literally making the same exact mistake again? It's a very similar offense. I think we need to acknowledge how hard the NBA fought in the 2000s to distance itself from gang culture as much as it possibly could. They completely redid their dress code as a result of this. They placed a huge point of emphasis in the 2000s to try to distance itself from stuff like weapons, baggy clothes, and regular streetwear from the 2000s, just in an effort to make the game more family friendly and to appeal to more advertisers. And they primarily did this by instituting a dress code. That's why you see everyone appearing to games in suits nowadays, or in whatever the hell Russell Westbrook is wearing. But you guys get my point. This isn't going to be just another slap on the wrist for Ja Morant. This is a very serious offense, and the fact that it's a repeat offense within the past 2 months means it's probably going to be all the more serious. The thing is, this is unprecedented. I don't think I've ever seen a situation like this before. What do you do when a player acts like a moron on social media, flexing a gun, which caused a lot of controversy 2 months ago, once again, once his season is over? The worst part is, I could imagine the NBA giving an overreaction to this, suspending Ja Morant for 6 months to a year even. Or I could see a lighter course of action as well. Maybe Ja Morant goes to therapy. At the end of the day, I don't think this is a situation where Ja Morant's going to get released from the Memphis Grizzlies because, well, he's just too freaking good. And at this point, I don't know how you handled this situation. I don't understand how Ja Morant put himself in this situation once again. I don't think this is an overreaction at all. I mean, I think each and every one of us at this point can look at Ja Morant and say to his face that you're an idiot. I mean, straight up, you're an idiot. This is the definition of fumbling the bag here. You set your family up for generational wealth. There's clearly a target on your back. Even if you want to make an argument that people are out trying to get you so they could get a bag from you, that's all the more reason to not act this way. If I'm Ja Morant, I am not even going even close to a gun at this point if there's a camera in sight. And like Sauce Gardner says, we all have guns, bro. We just don't post onto social media with them because it gives off a dangerous image, especially for a guy who makes his bread based upon how marketable he is. The Memphis Grizzlies appear to be just completely falling apart, but I don't think Ja Morant's situation is nearly as bad as Dylan Brooks' situation, or as bad as how Kevin Durant quite literally ended another man's career on Saturday. I'll leave a link to both of those videos in the end screen, and I'll see you guys there. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.